Very good evening, and thank you for joining us here on Rwanda Television News for the English News Bulletin. We'll begin with the headlines. The Transparency International Rwanda demonstrates that in 2024, the bribery demand fell to 3.2% from 3.6% in 2023. The Rwanda Standards Board has officially unveiled specialized laboratories helmet that will inspect the quality of helmets used by motorcyclists and passengers. On the international scene, a new initiative is reshaping the lives of smallholder farmers and students in Malawi. My name is Olive Nathan. It's always a pleasure to have you with us. Now let's dive in. The Transparency International Rwanda demonstrates that in 2024, the bribery demand fell to 3.2% from 3.6% in 2023. These were demonstrated as on Wednesday there was a launch of the Rwanda Bribery Index 2024. Prince Manzi kicks us off tonight.
In these new findings, the private sector registered the highest likelihood of bribery at 13%, followed by the Rwanda National Police at 9.40%, the Rwanda Energy Group at 7.80%, the Water and Sanitation Corporation at 7.20%, local governments at 6.40%, and the judges at 6%. Residents shared their insights on bribery in various institutions across provinces and the Kigali city. When you struggle a lot from one place to another in order to have a certain permit, if one comes and is willing to support you, you find yourself providing some bribery to fasten your approval for a certain permit. To have water meter, you register and pay, and they give you an appointment on when to come and see it. When you arrive, they go slow on providing you with what you want while they wait on you to do something. And when you bribe him or her, they rapidly deliver the service. This index was conducted in September 2024, sampling 2,400 people. The chairperson of the Transparency International Rwanda, Marie Makire Ingabire, demonstrates that some institutions managed to change their corruption gaps and others still have service delivery, giving room to bribery and corruption.
Buriya ubushake bwa politike bwo kurwanya ruswa burahari mu Rwanda pe. Burahari ariko hejuru.
The political will to fight against corruption is there in Rwanda, but at the higher levels. But the will is not found at lower levels. The issue mainly is that various services do not need permits. How come fencing your home requires a permit? These small details requiring permits provide room for corruption.
Alarmingly, only 8% of people who encountered bribery managed to report it, and 92% did not. And this serves as a result of various reasons towards failure of reporting, with fear of self-incrimination on the fall. Prince Manzi, RwandaTV News.
Thank you, Prince, for the details. Now moving ahead to other matters. The Rwanda Standards Board has officially unveiled specialized laboratories that will inspect the quality of helmets used by motorcyclists and passengers. These laboratories have the capacity to test over 30 to 40 helmets per day, aiming to reduce the number of road accidents caused by motorcyclists. Inora Gladys has more.
In May this year, new regulations governing helmets for motorcyclists and passengers were introduced, and 1,000 high-quality helmets meeting these standards were distributed. Motorcycle users, particularly motorcyclists, have expressed the importance of these helmets. Having high-quality and reliable helmets that meet the standards helps us reduce the risks that used to occur when we had helmets that could easily break if someone fell, causing injuries. These helmets are good because they offer sufficient protection and will help us better protect passengers. The president of the non-governmental organization that made advocacy to have this helmet testing lab, Dr. Innocent Zeimana, explained that the main reason behind this initiative is that road safety is a responsibility of the government and also for everyone.
This is the launch of the helmet testing lab, which is part of a project called Turinde, and that project originated from the fact that we were seeing high rates of deaths and head injuries from road crashes involving motors, despite high rate of helmet use. The compliance is almost 100%, we know that, but still we see significant amount of head injuries that were supposed to be prevented by those helmets. So that's why we thought of this project, and we collaborated with different stakeholders that were mentioned to do this project, including developing the standard, but also give the capacity to the Rwanda Standard Board to be able to test helmets against that standard.
The Minister of Infrastructure, Dr. Jimmy Gasore, highlighted how this laboratory will significantly contribute to improving road safety, especially for motorcycle users.
Rwanda is one of the countries in which compliance of helmet wearing is nearing 100%. However, the helmets sold in the country were not required to be certified to any standard of protection, and the limited quality of control was enforced during their manufacturing. This led to the highest number of traffic deaths and injuries from the motorcyclists, riders, and passengers, as it is the case for some other countries in the region, in particular, and at the continent level. The launch of the helmet testing laboratory today is not only a significant milestone for Rwanda, but also a testament to our commitment to creating a safe, secure, and sustainable environment to all Rwandans. As many of you know, Rwanda has made remarkable strides in improving its road infrastructure, reducing road accidents, and ensuring that all citizens have access to safe transport options.
The chairman of the FIA Foundation emphasized their main reason of providing this helmet testing lab and some helmets to Rwanda.
The FIA Foundation is very involved in road safety across the entire world. And in Rwanda here, the one thing I've noticed is that all the motorcyclists wear crash helmets. That's a great starting point. But so many of these crash helmets are not to the right standard. They're counterfeit. And so now finally we have a standard, the UN standard to work to here, and a centre here for which you can test the crash helmets. So future crash helmets that come into the country can be tested to be proven they're safe, and Rwandans can enjoy the benefits of that.
This is the first laboratory of its kind in Africa launched in Rwanda, capable of testing the quality of helmets used on the road. It is expected that the distribution of these helmets will increase in the near future. This initiative was supported by the FIA Foundation. Enora Gladys, RwandaTV News.
Thank you, Gladys, for the details. Now to the agriculture sector. Earlier this year, Rwanda achieved a score of 8.7 out of 10 in its progress toward implementing the Malabo Declaration on Agriculture. However, the report noted that African country had met the target average score of 9.29% out of 10. We have details. The 10-year target set by African heads of state and government under the Malabo Declaration aims to eradicate hunger, allocate at least 10% of national budgets to agriculture, and achieve an annual agricultural growth rate of 6%. Innocent Namuhoranye, a seed industry expert, believes that this commitment has played a key role in advancing Africa's agriculture sector.
The continent has been improved a lot in terms of local production on the continent, exports, free movement of the seeds in the region, and also more exports in Europe, in the US, and other continents. And again, if you take those 10 years, Africa continent was behind a lot, specifically on agriculture. The farmers was producing for themselves, to feed themselves. Now the farmers produce, for exports. All that mean they increase the quality of the products to compare to regional and international standards.
The Comprehensive Africa Agricultural Development Program report revealed that no country had met the expected average score of 9.29 out of 10. However, Rwanda achieved an impressive score of 8.7. Dr. John Ulimwengu, a researcher at the African Research Institute Academia, acknowledged that significant progress has been made in enhancing value addition to agricultural products.
The processing, the value addition component of the food system, that it's not absent, but it's still at a, let's say, suboptimal level, because when you look at across the continent, we are spending around $50 billion a year on food import, and much of it is processed food. Its food system, we will be able to address not only the issue of import processed food, but also the malnutrition and the employment and all the other.
Eric Rwigamba, the Minister of State for Agriculture and Animal Resources, emphasized that cooperation between African countries is crucial for accelerating agricultural development across the continent.
There are few countries that managed to make some progress. What lessons can we pick from those countries? There are areas that were lagging behind. What are we going to do differently to make sure that how do we uplift smallholder farmers? And how do we apply science in finding solutions to some of the challenges that we are facing as a continent?
As part of the Malabo Declaration, countries committed to allocating 10% of their budgets to agriculture, reducing food spoilage by 50% between harvest and market, eliminating hunger, and lowering child mortality rates to at least 10%, among other targets. A follow-up meeting of African heads of state and government is scheduled to take place in Kampala, Uganda from the 9th to 12th of next month. The meeting will review the progress made in implementing these resolutions adopted in June 2014 and address the challenges that have hindered their full achievement. Now to other matters, global pandemics, ongoing wars, and several other crises across the world have impacted the distribution chain, leaving many countries at risk of not achieving sustainable development goals by 2030 as set. William Evans has more.
The Sustainable Development Goal Report of 2024 stated that with just 6 years remaining, current progress falls far short of what is required to meet the Sustainable Development Goal targets. For Rwanda to best realize its share of the global commitment, it is training local government authorities as a move to have collective responsibility and doubled efforts towards achieving this.
The training that we are having today is a training for local government authorities, those in charge of actually implementing the SDGs at the local level. Rwanda has a good track record of realizing its share of the global commitments, and this is no different for the SDGs. We have included the SDGs in our national planning instruments, being the Vision 2050, but also the National Strategy for Transformation 1 and 2. And this trickles down to the sector strategic plans and the district development strategies, and to make sure actually that when we implement our national targets, we are actually implementing and contributing properly also to the realization of the Sustainable Development Goals. So the training that we have today is very timely, because it will help the local governments which are in charge of the implementation to understand better, and actually to understand what needs to be done now that we're faced with these challenges, to make sure that we are doubling efforts on realizing the SDG goals.
We have to join our effort. We have to work with our stakeholders, with private sector, with population, with international cooperation to speed up the implementation of SDGs.
This training especially emphasized better coordination among stakeholders through multi-level governance and enhanced capacity building to effectively implement sustainable development goals at the local level. William Evans, Mutabazi, RTV News.
Now to more news. Representatives from the 18 member countries of the ARCOS network have urged governments to strengthen efforts in promoting sustainable practices among citizens to mitigate environmental degradation. They emphasized that harmful human activities contribute significantly to climate change and other ecological challenges. Prince Manzi has more.
Some of the key human activities contributing to the degradation of mountains, hills and the environment include unsustainable agriculture, deforestation, charcoal production, overgrazing on mountain slopes, and mining. According to some residents, measures such as increasing forest cover with indigenous tree species and reducing the construction of terraces are crucial steps to preserving mountain ecosystems and the environment.
We had hills that were prone to erosion, which affected the Akagera River. Fortunately, the ARCOS network has been helping us with environmental protection, making the process sustainable. Now in our coffee plantation, we have added indigenous plants, which we didn't have before, and this has made a significant difference. The trees mixed with the crops help improve the air quality, provide manure for their leaves, and also include indigenous trees that were previously forgotten.
During the two-day ARCOS Africa Regional Mountains Forum, which convened approximately 100 participants from the ARCOS network, discussions focused on finding sustainable solutions to protect mountain ecosystems while addressing the needs of local communities. Fabio Paris, a sustainable mountain development expert, emphasized that climate change remains a global challenge requiring urgent and collective action.
People that need to be involved are the communities that are in the mountains, because they are the people that are suffering from the crisis and are also the people that are providing the solution. Only with their commitment we can really achieve a sustainable mountain development. We don't like to call them just beneficiaries, but they're the actual direct stakeholders, because they're not just the one benefiting from the projects that we do of sustainable mountain development, but they're actually the key people that make the change happen.
The talks coincided with the celebration of the International Mountain Day. Dr. Kanyamibwa Sam, the founder and chief executive officer of the Albertine Rift Conservation Society, ARCOS, noted that there are measures taken to protect mountains and hills.
What has to be done is, first of all, to realize that mountains play a big role for our lives. We depend on mountains for different needs, which means we need to make efforts to prioritize the mountain agenda in development, to prioritize the mountain agenda for the communities who live in these mountains, to prioritize mountains when it comes to finance for development, and particularly for climate change. This forum is an opportunity to raise the voice on behalf of Africa, how mountains play a role and how they should receive special attention.
Governments are expanding reforestation efforts, including the planting of forests, fruit trees, and mixed crops, while advancing terracing programs to enhance mountain conservation and mitigate soil erosion in wetlands.
Now to the health sector. A 3-day National Trauma Symposium will take place in Kigali starting on the 12th. The event is a collaborative effort organized by various institutions and organizations dedicated to advancing mental health. According to Professor Vincent Sezibera, a lecturer in the University of Rwanda and Director of Center for Mental Health, the symposium aims to explore the complexities of trauma, its impact, and practical approaches to addressing and mitigating its effects.
We, the Rwanda Psychological Society, in collaboration with other organizations, local and international, to name just a few, we have Imbuto Foundation, we have Interpeace, Never Again, RCT Ruhuka, and more. And also international agencies like Alert International and funding agencies like USAID, but very importantly government institutions. to name the Ministry of National Unity and Civic Education, the RBC, the University of Rwanda. We are organizing, starting tomorrow, December 12th, a 3 days National Trauma Symposium. This National Trauma Symposium is the second one. We had the first one in May 2019, and we are going now to have the second. The main purpose of this National Trauma Symposium is to put emphasis on the importance and the specificity of a trauma in a post-genocide context of us in Rwanda. A genocide will for sure lead to trauma-related difficulties. There's no doubt. A genocide is the most extreme traumatic experience anybody can experience. So we want again to take time and revisit the current status of the trauma manifestations in Rwanda, to include the post-traumatic stress disorder, depression, and other difficulties being addictive behaviors, alcohol and drug addiction, suicide ideations, and other social dysfunction behaviors. One, to consider what has been achieved in the management of trauma-related difficulties, but also possible ongoing difficulties. There are research findings where we can see elevated prevalence rates of post-traumatic stress disorder and comorbid disorders, but also determinants of possible intergenerational trauma. There are different considerations, whether from the genetic and the epigenetic perspectives. Others are from the social determinants of transgenerational trauma, either transmission, inheritance. This is the debate we want to prolong and have that conversation between researchers, practitioners, and policymakers. And if there is any possible transmission, either through the genetic, epigenetic, or social, how do we redesign the social policies to mitigate that possible transmission? How do we redefine and adjust our clinic and community approaches to better help those who may require the help? How do we also understand possible ramifications between trauma and the family dynamics? Is there any relation between chronic trauma-related difficulties and family dysfunctions like domestic violence, intimate partner violence, child abuse and neglect, parenting? So how do we design accordingly social practices that will be supporting families and promote, for example, positive parenting, manage parental stress and trauma to promote good and better family functioning and child protection as a whole.
You're still watching RwandaTV News, now to matters making headlines globally. In Malawi, a new initiative is reshaping the lives of smallholder farmers and students in this country. The homegrown school feeding program is bridging the gap between agriculture and public primary schools, resulting in improved nutrition for students and economic improvement for farmers. We have more with VOA.
Pirirani Nkwate is a small-scale farmer in the Zomba district of southern Malawi. She says that about 5 years ago, she started making more money selling her crops directly to her local primary school than she did selling to middlemen.
This program has helped earn money to pay school fees for my 2 children. I've also bought 2 cows, something I never imagined before. Now I have a steady income.
Nkwate is part of the UN World Food Programme's homegrown school feeding program. Since its pilot effort in 2012, the program has grown to support over 800,000 students and 35,000 farmers in 11 districts across the country.
It provides farmers with reliable markets for up to 200 school days annually, boosting incomes and resilience, and it promotes dietary diversity, offering school children meals with ingredients from Malawi's 6 food groups.
Donors supporting the initiative include Norway, the European Union, France, and Iceland. Students say the initiative is better than the previous feeding program, which had one fixed meal.
In the past, we were eating porridge made from soy flour only, but now with the coming of this homegrown initiative, we are eating porridge from maize flour, potatoes cooked with ground nut flour, rice and pumpkins, and sometimes potatoes mixed with vegetables.
The World Food Program says the initiative has helped increase daily school attendance from 77% to 92% and reduce health-related absenteeism by 11%. However, some schools like Nyachenda Primary School in Nsanje district, the challenge is delays in supplies.
We use the smallholder farmers that lack a lot of resources, and because of that, the food comes to our school maybe with 2 or 3 days late.
World Food Program says it is addressing the challenge, sourcing food from farmers in cooperatives around the schools. The farmers say the initiative has helped them earn enough money to construct houses, while for students, it promises a healthier and a brighter future. Lamek Masina, VOA News, Blantyre, Malawi.
Now in northern India, vast tracts of land turned into wasteland in recent years as farmers abandoned cultivating their fields because it was unprofitable. Now some farmers have come together to restore these lands in an initiative that is helping rural women raise their income. VOA once more.
Anuradha Devi is preparing her family's fields that had turned into wasteland after they abandoned farming in the northern Himachal Pradesh state.
We owned small patches of land that were scattered. Cattle used to eat up whatever we planted, so we stopped cultivating them.
A year ago, she joined hands with owners of several adjoining fields to grow crops like chamomile. Farming on a larger area and planting herbs, flowers, and berries instead of traditional crops like wheat enabled her to earn $500. It made life easier.
It was difficult to meet household expenses after we stopped farming. We could not even pay our children's fees.
In India, the average size of farms has shrunk due to division of land as it passed down generations. Even the tiny fields farmers own are often not contiguous, making farming unviable. Large tracts turned into wasteland. Now some rural families are pooling their land to restart farming. Sonu Rana and her husband Rajiv Chauhan are spearheading the community-led initiative. They faced a similar problem when they returned from the city to farm their land. It was also scattered and had become degraded.
We convinced 3 or 4 families who own land around us to plant lemongrass with us. We were able to sell it to companies making tea. Then we realized that the formula which will work in this region is pulling off land resources.
To overcome the problem of stray animals eating crops, they switched to growing crops like chamomile, ginger, and flowers instead of rice and wheat planted for generations. Nearly 24 families are following their example. The aim is to create village-level entrepreneurs in a region where it is acceptable for women to labor on their own land but not work outside the house. One of them is Rita Devi.
We formed a group of 8 or 10 people and worked together to restore the land. It feels very good to see crops growing on our fields, and we also earn some money.
Experts in wasteland development say the community-led farming model can give rural communities a boost.
This will generate employment and stop people from going to cities to take up small jobs. It will reverse migration.
Rana also helps the villagers market the crops. She says they have just modernized a generations-old practice.
This is the way our grandparents used to farm. They used to help each other. We are working on the same model.
Experts say success stories from this initiative could set a template for others. Anjana Pasricha, VOA News, New Delhi.
Brings us to the close of today's edition. Before we go, here is a quick recap of the stories that we've covered. The Transparency International Rwanda demonstrates that in 2024, the bribery demand fell to 3.2% from 3.6% in 2023. The Rwanda Standards Board has officially unveiled specialized laboratories that will inspect the quality of helmets used by motorcyclists and passengers. On the international scene, a new initiative is reshaping the lives of smallholder farmers and students in Malawi. And that wraps up today's bulletin. Thank you for joining us for today's broadcast. On behalf of the entire news team, we wish you a restful night.